Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh reacts to young Republicans lead group chat. Democrat Representative Katie Porter's upset over a video of her yelling at a staffer. Young Republicans also say they're sorry for the leaked group chat. I review the cheapest sports cars you can get for sale in the United States right now. Mom Jesus Gates also gets recalled because, whoops, they are not so much geniuses because they are a safety hazard. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I say they're found at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. Easy music, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, try to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, I review the top new cars you can get that are somewhat sporty. Some choices are, of course, better than others. Now this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com, specifically Jeff Perez. And, oh, I was going to say, rare for the automotive part of the podcast, I do not need a visual disclaimer because some of these cars actually look pretty darn good. Now again, this credit to Jeff Perez at Motor1.com. And they say, quote, the best cheap sports cars you can buy in 2026. These options from Mazda, Toyota, Volkswagen prove performance doesn't always have to be pricey. Here you can see the cute iconic. Click that subscribe button. It'll help my speaking aptitudes. When I first started the show, no one tuned in, and I have a theory. I mean, I spoke faster than Ben Shapiro and more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to climb upstairs. But as I slowly but surely got more subscribers, I become slightly more articulate. Granted, some people might just say barely any improvement, though I would argue, statistically speaking, an improvement. So you can click that button, tell your friends and enemies. I would greatly appreciate it. There you can see the iconic Mazda Miata right there. And Jeff Perez, I'll leave that on screen actually, or I read his little summary. Now, Jeff Perez says, quote, with the average price of a new car in the United States hovering around $47,000, the term cheap is all relative. The days of sub $25,000 sports cars are long gone, and even finding some under $30,000 is harder to come by. Once ultra thrifty vehicles are closer to the $40,000 mark than ever before. Fortunately, that doesn't mean buyers looking for something cheap and cheerful are completely out of luck. We found nearly 20 sports cars still considered cheap, I'll use those quotes there, by today's standards. Heading into the 2026 model years, some of our favorite budget-friendly sports and sporty cars come in well below the national average, though a few creep above it. The beloved Mazda Miata remains the most affordable true sports car in America, with strong alternatives from Toyota, Honda, and Volkswagen close behind. Of course, it all comes down to your budget and what you are looking for, but even as prices raise, 2026 should still offer a solid mix of fun, affordable options for driving enthusiasts. And I'm not surprised their top choice, or at least the first one listed, is the Mazda Miata at $30,515, which is one of those things where, man, if I can get that time machine going, I would have bought one of these when I was a kid. It's one of those things where, back in my day, you could find these for like $3 to $4 grand used on the Craigslist with, obviously some miles, but still working order. And if you want to get into track driving, which is so much fun, I can't recommend it enough. The Miata is the best bang for your buck, though. I'm biased. I have my Honda. I love my Honda. But again, there's a whole series called Spec Miata. There's a whole series of racing just for the Mazda Miata. Mazda makes great parts for decades for those vehicles, a lot of third-party support. It is the AR-15 of the sports cars. There are so much support from third-party manufacturers and tuners. It is amazing. And they say, quote, Mazda is always the answer when it comes to affordable fun. Starting at $30,515 for the 2025 model year, the Mazda MX-5 Miata has a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 181 horsepower and 151 foot-pound of torque, a snappy 6-speed I'm so happy. The standard 6-speed manual transmission gearbox. And then they say, or automatic, if that's how you roll. That should be illegal. Of all the cars that should be stick only, the Mazda Miata. That is what you should be getting. They say, quote, with either a traditional soft top or a hard top RF model, we're still waiting for pricing for a 2026 model year, but we don't expect America's cheapest sports car to get significantly pricier anytime soon. Which, and again, they're also very tempting in terms of, throw a turbo on this. They don't from the factory. But again, for the downshifting, you can't beat that feeling. Downshifting to the corner on the track. And there's something just about the pure experience that is the Mazda Miata. Now, the next one they have is a Toyota GR86. Also, the same thing as the Subaru BRZ, though slightly different pieces of plastique glued onto the vehicle. I'm kidding, they probably bolt and screw some of them on, but same assembly line, same as it used to be the Scion FRS back before Toyota killed the Scion brand. But yeah, it's a fun little car. I actually do like the yellow they have here. They say, quote, 228 horsepower. Second only to the Mazda Miata in price. The rear wheel drive Toyota GR86 sports car starts at $31,960 for the 2026 model year. Only a slight price increase from last year. Also for the 2026 is the Yazoo edition, which gets a sweet Yazoo yellow paint job with black accents. All GR86 models pack a naturally aspirated 2.4 liter flat four with a bit more horsepower than Mazda Miata, coming at 228 horsepower at 84 foot-pound of torque, plus the optional 6-speed manual or automatic. They say rear-wheel drive is standard affair, but you do have to settle for a fixed roof. Small price to pay for otherwise stellar sports car, which, again, these are very fun to drive. The weight distribution is exceptional. I passed a couple of them on the track, and of course, from time to time, they also pass me. As much as I like the look of the car and the handling, I pass reliability. It has a Subaru engine. They've had some issues throughout the years. Well, bearings, I believe, is a while back. You're not getting the reliability of Toyota. It's Toyota in name only. Let's just say that much. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little biased. One of my personal favorites. Although, oh, geez Louise, Honda paint job is abhorrent. I can't decide what's more visually visceral and disgusting. That paint job or Rosie O'Donnell, or me. It's the Honda Civic Si coming at $32,190, which inflation is the silent thief of everyone. But back in my day, my Honda was, I believe, $26,812 list price for the Honda Civic Si Gen 10. Now the Honda Civic Si, though I respect them for it only comes with a standard 6-speed manual transmission, they all have 4 doors, which, come on, Honda, bring back the coupe. And yeah, that paint job is god-awful. But again, it's a great car. They say, quote, 200 horsepower. Also feel like you're getting robbed. My Honda, not to brag too much, had 205 horsepower from the factory. Well, maybe 206. Not to brag, I got K&N cold air intake with stickers on the window. So you know it's legit. Now, they say, quote, the Honda Civic Si remains a popular sporty sedan for those wanting fun, affordable, and functionality. Starting at $32,190 for 2026, the Si has a turbocharged 1.5-liter 4-cylinder, making 200 horsepower and 192 foot-pound of torque. Civic is admittedly down on power compared to other sporty 4 doors, but it comes with a limited slip differential, 6-speed manual transmission, a customizable drive mode, and 18-inch wheels without skipping on the creature comforts like the Bose sound system, which, yeah, it also is a pain in the ass, has that cylinder deactivation. Granted, for like $150, you get the third-party plug-in, so the engine doesn't do that crap to you. But yeah, Honda did that for the Si with the Generation 11. Now you also have the Ford, or as I pejoratively call it, the Ford Mustang. This is the EcoBoost at $33,515, which, another boring silver paint job. I swear these companies get free paint from manufacturers, or from the paint manufacturers if it's silver. Like 98% of all Porsches, only partially exaggerating. But they say, quote, the Ford Mustang EcoBoost, again, comes in at $33,515. Also comes in at 315 horsepower. They say, quote, the Ford Mustang is a iconic muscle car and still an affordable one to boot. The 2025 version of the pony car starts at $33,515 for the base Mustang EcoBoost Fastback. They say the Mustang packs a turbocharged 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine, which I know they've had it for a while, but still is a little bit of a curveball thinking Mustang, 4 cylinders. Oh, yeah. Again, 4 cylinders are great in the Honda Civic Si. Mustang, I know Camaro did the same thing. Just seems like it should have a V8, a GT, but I partially digress. This is, of course, the entry-level price point, the cheaper, more affordable one. They say, quote, the 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine makes 315 horsepower and 350 foot-pound of torque, significantly more than Mazda and Toyota sports cars. Comes with a standard 10-speed automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive. Sorry, no manual for that. You have to step up to the GT, which, yeah, Mustang with the automatic transmission. What the hell? Who's buying this? Not many people. Spoiler alert. You also have, coming up here, the Volkswagen Golf GTI, which is also now only automatic. I'd rather walk, but that's just me. The Volkswagen Golf GTI comes in at $33,670. They say the iconic Volkswagen Golf GTI is still alive and kicking. The hot hatchback starts at, again, $33,670. Comes with this turbocharged 2-liter engine, making 241 horsepower and 273 foot-pound of torque. Bad news is VW no longer offers a manual transmission on the GTI. A 7-speed, oh geez Louise, a 7-speed dual clutch is the only transmission option available. Yeah. Also note, unlike the Golf R, which you'll see there on this, the power travels exclusively to the front wheels. At any rate, it's still one of the best hot hatches available in the US, which, I mean, when the track is wet, that is like one of the few times where you actually do have an advantage for front wheel drive. And again, that is the same with the Honda Civic Si. That is front wheel drive only. The Civic Type R, that is all wheel drive. Actually, no. Actually, I think they skipped out. I think it is only front, but nevertheless. You also have the Subaru WRX, though it's not the STI because they don't make that anymore. Though, fun fact, Subaru has one of the highest take rates for manual transmissions, which the WRX does have. Now, the WRX comes at $33,855 and 271 horsepower. They say the Subaru WRX is only a little bit more expensive than the Honda Civic Si, yet it gets a lot more power and all-wheel drive. The base WRX starts at, again, $33,855 for 2025. And it comes standard with a turbocharged 2.4-liter turbocharged cylinder engine, making 271 horsepower and 258 foot-pound of torque, paired with a 6-speed manual transmission. Or if you want to feel dead inside, you get an optional CVT, like a Nissan Altima. They say buyers in the market for more performance can opt for the WRX TS, which gets upgraded Brembo brakes and revised suspension, steering, tuning, but you have to pay more for that. That comes in at $46,875, which, yeah, you get a little bit more horsepower than the Honda Civic Si. You also get a lot less reliability because it's a Subaru, which, again, if I was a millionaire or a Rockefeller, I'd probably have a Subaru in the garage. They're fun, great cars, especially, for winter areas. But, yeah, in terms of long-term reliability, I don't think anyone has praised Subaru for that ever. But again, great, fun cars. Coming up next is the Mini Cooper. Ugh, somehow got uglier throughout time. Perhaps like myself. That's the Mini Cooper S starts at $33,975. Looks like that paint is mint green, which at least it's not silver. Give some credit there for the promo picture. They say, quote, the new Mini Cooper S isn't exactly the hottest hot hatch in the world. Powered by a turbocharged 2-liter engine, the pint-sized hatchback makes 201 horsepower, more than the Honda, and 221 foot-pound of torque. That said, the Cooper S still has the driving dynamics that made the Minis so charming in the first place. And I'll stop right there. They've gotten a little bit too big for most of the enthusiast preferences. And they also note that it's actually a little bit cheaper than the year before, which, yeah, probably because they weren't selling enough. And also automatic only, so obviously not. You also have the Acura Integra, also known as the luxury Honda, because again, Acura owned by Honda. Now the Acura Integra starts at $34,195. They say the Integra is essentially a fancier Civic with more money, starting at $34,195. It makes the same 200 horsepower as the Civic Si with the same exact engine, but the Acura pairs the base model with a continuously variable transmission as standard, while the Honda is manual only. To spend more money for a more boring experience. A CVT transmission, like the Nissan Altima, which is the butt of half the automotive jokes for years. They say you can get a manual Integra, but only with the A-Spec or Type S models. The former costs $39,195. The hot Type S is $54,095, which, yeah, that is a stratospherical in a price point for a sports car from Honda or Acura, $54,000. Yeah, I don't think so. As much as I am a big fan of Honda and Acura, yeah, you get that price point, $54,000. I mean, yeah, it's not. That's not for me. Now, they also bring up the Volkswagen Jetta GLI, which is a very bland-looking silver car, of course. That comes in at $35,020 with 228 horsepower. They say, quote, the Jetta GLI is Volkswagen's sedan alternative to the GTI hot hatch. It packs a turbocharged 2-liter engine with 228 horsepower and 258 foot-pound of torque. And your choice, of a 6-speed manual transmission or a 7-speed dual clutch in standard front-wheel drive. The GLI got a modest update for 2025 that included an exterior facelift and some interior tweaks. Gets a slight price hike for 2026 model year, bringing the starting MSRP at $35,020. Even with that, still the most affordable sports cars in the US, which, not a fan of the styling. All these four-doors are starting to all blend together in terms of their looks. I do greatly appreciate there's a stick shift option. But, I mean, it's also Volkswagen, which, I mean, when it comes to reliability, they're not exactly known for that. And I know not everyone wants their sports cars to be reliable. There's just a cliche great economic professor once said there's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs. Although I would argue the Civic SI is a good example of something that is reliable and sporty. But nevertheless, yeah, I would still choose the Honda Civic Si over the Volkswagen Jetta GLI, as much as I appreciate the fact that they do have a stick shift. Now, after the Volkswagen, you get the Hyundai Elantra N, which, I don't know, call me crazy. Those crazy origami angles are starting to grow on me. The side doors, the doors look like they're getting punched in, only fancily with the, yeah, it looks kind of cool. I kind of like it. It got huge. I mean, you can see those brake calipers from a mile away. You got some nice red accent to the bottom of the vehicle, which they used to do with the Honda Civic. Yeah, they did that with the previous Gen 10 Honda Civic with the HFP, or Honda Factory Performance Package. I think they sold like 20 of those ever. But yeah, those little accents I kind of dig that. Good way to kind of stand out from the crowd. You saw the previous Volkswagen also had a little bit of that. Now they say, quote, Hyundai Elantra N starts at $35,595 and 276 horsepower. They say it is a feisty four-door sports sedan with a turbocharged 2-liter that makes 276 horsepower and 289 foot-pound of torque, paired with either a 6-speed manual transmission or a 8-speed dual clutch, which I think that's one of the last Hyundais with a stick shift option. Which again, I love that they give that option to the consumers. And as much as I make fun of Hyundai, they're one of the best improving brands the past 15 years in terms of quality. I would say in terms of the quality and performance, they've had the biggest delta of growth, I would argue, compared to any brand. And yeah, again, they have a 10-year warranty, or 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty for the powertrain, which is, they've had that for like a decade. It is one of the best warranties in the automotive industry. Nay, it is the best in the automotive industry. It's very impressive. And it's one of those things where, well, it is one of those things where, depending on what manufacturer you're working with or you own your vehicle, some of them may or may not omit or, get rid of your warranty if you happen to take it to the track. But yeah, it's one of those things where, I think it'd be a pretty fun pick. Now I say, unlike Subaru Sports Sedan, though the Elantra N is only available with the front-wheel drive, Hyundai's updated Elantra N for 2024 and 2025 model carries over unchanged starting price at $35,595. They have not released 2026 pricing yet. You also have the Subaru BRZ, which, spoiler, exact same as, actually, it looks like the same exact color as the Toyota 86 as well. Because again, it's the same factory. You look under the hood, it all says Subaru, though slightly different pieces of plastic on the exterior. Now, again, the Subaru BRZ starts at $37,055. And they say, quote, the Subaru BRZ and Toyota 86 are essentially identical. The two coupes share the same platform and the same 2.4-liter boxer engine with 228 horsepower, 180 foot-pound of torque. The BRZ, though, has a Subaru Starlink infotainment system and eyesight driver's assistance technology, standard even with a manual, which, yeah, I don't know anyone who's really cared enough about this Subaru. And I apologize, to fix this. Oh. It's always the printers. Printers are the brats of the IT world. They're always finicky, always doing something. Might have to retire that one of these days. But yeah, the Subaru BRZ, again, they're exceptionally well-balanced vehicles. And if I had unlimited money, it'd probably be silly to do. But I would actually contemplate taking one of those platforms, ripping out the drivetrain, and putting in the Honda Civic Type R drivetrain in there. I mean, if you were doing a home build, or, kind of some garage Frankensteining, that'd be pretty fun. But again, the Achilles heel to this vehicle is the reliability, or rather the lack thereof. They say the bad news for 2026 is the BRZ gets a major price hike, with the entry-level premium model discontinuing last year, which, again, also have stupid naming nomenclature. The premium level for their trim is actually the entry level, which is just silly. And car companies do this, tech companies do this. I find it just confusing to the consumer. And they discontinue that partially because, again, that's the least profitable type of the vehicle or model or trim level is the entry level one. And also, again, less than 10% of them sold were the entry level models. So people were not buying them 90% of the time. Now they say, quote, the BRZ is now one of the priciest cars on the list, starting at $37,055. It's nearly a $4,000 increase, which, again, because now the cheapest, entry level there is what used to be, well, I guess the mid level. So mid is now low, something like that. You also have the Mazda 3 Turbo, which I think this might win the contest for the most bland looking vehicle on the list. Looks like, well, I keep harping on the paint. Obviously, that's not, you can change that relatively easily. But yeah, it just looks like every other four-door Mazda. It also starts at $37,975. though you do get 250 horsepower. They say much like the Mini Cooper S, Mazda doesn't make its 3-turbo as a sports sedan per se, but with a turbocharged 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine pumping out 250 horsepower and 320 foot-pound of torque, the Mazda is no slouch either. They say that, and yet a 6-speed automatic is the only transmission option for the turbo trim, and the all-wheel drive is standard affair. Unfortunately, the pricing for the turbo did go up for 2026. Mazda only offers the punchier engine on the premium plus trim, starting at, again, $37,975, with destination for this sedan. That's a pretty significant increase from last year's price for the turbo model at $34,435. You also have the estimated price in Honda Prelude, which that's, yeah, it looks kind of cool, but again, it's a CVT transmission hybrid, which Honda did try. I believe it was the CRZ, which, again, with the right powertrain, this could have been as they say in the movies, this could have been a contender. But yeah, I don't know. Everyone who was a previous fan of the Prelude would want this. Yeah, I don't think so. And it also apparently only has 200 horsepower. Now they say, quote, the Honda Prelude is back, disappointingly. For the 2026, the iconic Prelude name returns in the form of a slinky hybrid coupe with 200 horsepower, sharing its powertrain from the Civic Hybrid. That's such a joke. The 2026 Prelude packs a 2-liter hybrid setup paired with a CVT Nissan Altima. Honda also promises a sporty suspension setup with components shared with the Civic Type R. Yeah, they say we don't exactly know when the new Prelude goes on sale or even how much it costs, but the hybrid coupe should hit dealerships early next year. That price is around $38,000, which, yeah, I don't see anyone buying this in America who has a choice of any other vehicle at that price point. You're getting a CVT hybrid. And again, I'm not saying they're going to sell 0 of these, but like 18 of them, maybe. Also, plain boring white paint job. Come on, Honda. Only a couple good cars in paint. Now, you also have the Mini Cooper JCW, which is very large Mini Cooper, not so mini. Now, the Mini Cooper JCW starts at $40,075. They say Mini's iconic JCW badge returns atop the Cooper 2-door for the 2026 model year. The hot hatch packs a turbocharged engine making 228 horsepower. And they say plenty for a pint-sized car while returning up to 30 miles per gallon combined. One of the thriftiest cars on the list. With a starting price of $40,075 and with destination, the JCW certainly isn't the ultra-affordable hatchback we once knew, but by today's standards, it's still a relatively cheap option for all the performance you get. Now, finally get to a Toyota that's worth buying, the Toyota Corolla GR, which actually looks pretty cool. Fun fact, the best-selling car in history is the Toyota Corolla. And, well, this used to be an extremely enthusiast vehicle a couple years ago because it was only offered with a 6-speed manual transmission. Now, if you want, you can get this with an automatic. And again, it's a Toyota, so, you know, it's actually reliable, unlike the Toyota 86, which is just a Subaru. Now, again, this price point is, it's getting up there, a little above my pay grade. I went, $42,000. I mean, it is a really great vehicle. I've known people who own them. I've seen them at the track a lot of times. They're great bang for your buck, I feel, at like $36,000. Now, they say, quote, and again, it comes with 300 horsepower. The Toyota Corolla GR is one of the more exciting cars on the list. It's 5-door hatchback and all-wheel drive that hides a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, making 300 horsepower and 275 foot-pound of torque. The 6-speed manual used to be the only gearbox, but Toyota added an 8-speed automatic last year. And they say, and it's pretty damn good. Unfortunately, the GR Corolla now starts at $42,495 for the 2026 model year. That represents a pretty significant price increase from last year when the base GR Corolla was $39,995, but it's still an excellent hot hatch nonetheless, which, again, retail psychology is a phenomenon. There's a reason everything you look at the store ends in 99 cents. Again, if you see something on the shelf for $19.99 as opposed to $20, more people buy it $19.99, even though, again, you're extorted by the government. I believe Texas is 8.25% for sales tax, so it's really more expensive. But nevertheless, yeah, once you break... And again, even I'm falling kind of susceptible to that because my gut reaction is, you know, after $40,000, it kind of loses a lot of value. And again, about $2,500, that's a lot of money. And again, it's apples to oranges when you talk to, you know, used cars versus new cars. I mean, I would probably just get this used with a couple miles on it. And if you want, you splurge for the factory certified used or whatever. But yeah, $42,495. It's, again, it is a engineered track vehicle. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, to me, that just, I couldn't justify, if I couldn't justify spending that much money on a new car in general. But yeah, for that, it's not, I'm not feeling it, as they might say, but let me know. You also have the Nissan Z at $44,215, which is a low bar, but that's probably the only Nissan worth owning. So again, that's not saying much. Now, they say, quote, the Nissan Z, again, comes with 400 horsepower. The Nissan Z looks sharp and its retro futuristic styling outside and modern cabin, but those looks come at a price. The Z starts at $44,215 in 2026. A twin turbocharged 3-liter V6 powers the rear wheels, delivering 400 horsepower and 350 foot-pound of torque. 18-inch wheels and LED headlights are standard, with either a 6-speed manual or a 9-speed automatic gearbox. You can also get a more powerful Z Nismo, but it costs you $66,995, which, yeah, hell no. $67,000 plus tax and registration, all that crap. Again, $44,215. Although, again, for full transparency, the picture they used is actually, I believe, the Heritage Edition. And that one is, I think that option is a couple grand. But again, I do appreciate Nissan giving what the consumer wants. Again, it's got a twin turbo, it's got a turbo V6. I don't know why this is such a pet peeve of mine, but I hate that new cars have the little button for the parking brake. This one, you just pull that lever like they should have by default. But $44,000, I mean, I would just, again, I just said how the Toyota was too expensive. I'd choose a Toyota over the Nissan. But again, you got the Nissan Z. You also have the Honda Civic Type R at $47,090. If you can actually find it at that. Most of the dealers are extorting consumers by charging adjustment, what is it, fair market value, whatever crap they call that, which it's also the consumer's fault because people will foolishly pay for that. But nevertheless, the Honda Civic Type R gets 315 horsepower, and they say, quote, the Type R is the Civic's ultimate form and far more expensive than the Civic sibling, or Civic SI sibling. However, it makes 315 horsepower and 310 foot-pound of torque from its turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. A 6-speed manual is the only option available, as they should be, while the stopping power comes from 4-piston Brembo front brakes, which, now again, the issue is if you go to most Honda dealerships, the markup is usually 5 to 15 grand on top of that, which, again, at that point, just get a nice used Porsche. But 47 grand, again, if the Civic Type R was more close to like 37, 38, I think they sell a lot more units. Now, again, most of these companies don't care about selling a lot of units. It's more of a, the premium that people aspire to. Certainly, it's not to the point of a halo car, but again, it's not the purpose to be a high volume unit. It's kind of the showcase of what they can do from an engineering perspective. I understand they're okay not selling a high volume of these. If you can get it at a list price, I think it's a great bang for your buck. You see them at the track fairly often. Pretty darn reliable. I mean, my Gen 10 Honda Civic's been pretty darn solid. Have a couple random issues, and I track my car moderately consistently. Well, a couple times a year consistently. And again, Type R, it's Honda. It's darn near bulletproof reliability. It's got manual transmission. Got 315 horsepower. It's not terrible. It's a little bit, obviously, about 100 more than the Honda Civic SI. You got 4 doors, which is practical, though. Again, I would rather have 2 doors because it's more fun and sporty. But yeah, I don't know. I would put this above the Toyota Corolla GR or GR Corolla, just in terms of it's a little bit more reliable. Because again, the Corolla GR has had a couple issues with fire and flames in terms of the vehicle bursting into it. Again, it's pretty sporadic, but it's had that. And yeah, Honda's, I think it's just a little more reliable, which I usually don't say that when it comes to Honda versus Toyota, but for the higher end sports car, I choose the Civic Type R over the Corolla. I also had the Ford Mustang GT. America. Well, you have to say that. There's a V8. That's always how I pronounce it. I don't know why. It's just in my head. I always hear it that way. Now, they say, quote, the Ford Mustang GT comes in at $48,555. And you get 486 horsepower, which I greatly admire in many ways the CEO of Ford Motor Company, Jim Farley. Again, you could argue that the Mustang, they won the pony war because unlike the competition, like General Motors has multiple times killed can't believe they did this. They've killed the Camaro a couple times. To Ford's credit, the Mustang has always existed And he said he doesn't care what the competition does. They'll always make an affordable V8 sports car for the consumer with manual transmission. So I greatly appreciate that dedication. I mean, he's a racing enthusiast. The issue is, though, affordable. I mean, that's kind of the key word. He said affordable a couple times in his speeches. $48,555. And again, I understand, the average new price of a car in the United States these days. I mean, that is just, to me, a little bit too expensive, too premium, so to say. Now they say, quote, moving up from the EcoBoost is the Ford Mustang GT, unlocking the 5-liter V8 with 485 horsepower and rear-wheel drive. A 6-speed manual transmission is standard, but a quick, who would buy this? A quick shifting dense speed automatic is available for an extra $1,595, which good, get a stupid tax. I know I'm kind of in the minority. Less than 2% of new cars in the United States are sold with a stick shift, but in a sports car, have fun. Use that third pedal. Now they say, quote, it's not the most powerful pony car of the group, though the track-focused Dark Horse has 500 horsepower, although that version also starts at $61,080. Base Mustang GT starts at more reasonable, again, $48,555. You also have the Volkswagen Golf R, which, the updates make it more and more futuristic. It almost looks like it's out of a Tron movie. Now, they say, quote, the Volkswagen Golf R starts at, $50,730 with 315 horsepower. The GTI's bigger, more powerful sibling, the Golf R, starts at $50,730. It's not exactly cheap, considering the Golf R base price was only $46,890 last year. That said, you do get a lot of car for your money. The Golf R packs a more powerful 2-liter engine with 315 horsepower, 280 foot-pound of torque. All-wheel drive Golf R comes with a 7-speed DSG exclusively. It hits 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, which, automatic? Hell no. No. Why would you do that? Again, it's partially because of European regulations with the EU. Again, that's a big market for a lot of companies, and a lot of them are saying it doesn't make sense to make a vehicle only for the United States in terms of, having a stick shift. But, that price point, $50,730 for a Volkswagen, which again, Volkswagen Auto Group, they make a lot of great stuff. But yeah, that price point for that car, heck no. Now you have, I was going to say, is this the first General Motors product on the list? It is. The Cadillac CT4V at $52,120, which, you need the Blackwing, I think. That is the one that's infinitely more fun. And also for visual appeal, styled a lot better. Now, they, again, say the Cadillac CT4V starts at $52,120, getting 325 horsepower. They say, why the high-powered CT4V Blackwing gets all the attention and costs over $60,000. Yeah, because that's one with a lot more fun vehicles. I believe it's twin-turbo V6, and then the CT5V Blackwing gets a V8. Both have 6-shift options. They say you can get this one. You can still snag a CT4 with a V badge that isn't nearly as pricey. This version packs a turbocharged 2.7-liter 4-cylinder in a Cadillac. Really? I mean, I knew that, but I'm saying that because really, making 325 horsepower and 380 foot-pound of torque, which gets it. It says it gets to 60 miles per hour, about 4.5 seconds. The only downside is the only transmission option is a 10-speed automatic, which a General Motors automatic transmission is about as reliable as a U.S. government or a Ford vehicle, which is to say, not so much. Yeah, they've had a lot of recalls on that. They say that, again, just get the V. Sell a kidney, whatever it takes. Don't get the base model CT4V. Now, they say you can get the CT4V for $52,120. Not exactly cheap, but one of the most powerful cars on the list, which, again, unless you get the Blackwing, which, again, is much more track-focused, not just bigger engine, but also manual transmission, also a lot better braking, get the Brembos. I mean, it is leaps and bounds better, and I usually don't say that about trim levels of vehicles. Usually they're incrementally a little bit better. The Blackwing is just night and day. It's definitely worth saving up for. You also have an Audi on the list, oddly enough. You have the Audi S3, which, looks slightly sportier than a Volkswagen, which, again, that's kind of the purpose of Audi. It's all the Volkswagen Auto Group. Now, again, they say the Volkswagen S3 is $53,295, getting 328 horsepower. They say, quote, if you're in the market for a fancier GTI with 4 doors instead of 5, the Audi S3 has a higher output turbocharged 2-liter engine, now making 328 horsepower and 295 foot-pound of torque for 2025. All-wheel comes standard on the S3 and does a 7-speed automatic transmission. The S3 comes in at just over 50,000 mark for 2026 with a starting MSRP, again, $53,295 with a slight price bump from last year, which, Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I would never buy that. But again, that's just me. And yeah, Porsche unfortunately has been priced out of the entry level sports car market for probably a couple decades by now. But yeah, of all these vehicles, yeah, I mean, I'm a little biased, of course, but yeah, Honda Civic Si at $32,195. Gotta say that's going to be the best bang for your buck in terms of reliability, something that you could easily just go onto the track with very little, if any, modifications. But that's just my 2 cents. It used to be 3 cents, or actually, no, it should be 4 cents. Inflation is a thing. But let me know of this whole list. What do you think is the best bang for your buck? Because let me know, because as always, guys in here, what you have to say. Now, going over to the cultural part podcast, you have Matt Walsh reacting to the Young Republicans group chat being leaked. Matt Walsh says, quote, if you actually read the political hit piece, that you'll see that many of the messages are being taken wildly out of context. For example, a guy who said, I love Hitler was clearly being sarcastic. It's explicitly meant to be a sarcastic joke, yet Politico, put the quote in the headline of the article, and conservatives are lining up to offer denunciations. How in the hell is anyone on the right still falling for this trick? Have you not learned by now to take absolutely nothing from leftist media at face value, especially if it's a blatant political hit piece? Which, no, Republicans, yeah, a lot of them are, well, you could also argue that a lot of them are just pejoratively known as rhinos, a Republican in name only. But yeah, there's a lot of Republicans are just saying, oh yeah, it's so terrible. They have these group chats. Or again, if they went to any Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 lobby a couple years ago, or actually several years ago now, yeah, that group chat is very, very much tame compared to that. And Matt Walsh went moderately viral, got about 800,000 views and 18,000 likes. He continues saying, quote, he was saying, yeah, I'm so right wing. I guess I love Hitler. Basically, basic sarcasm of a kind deployed by right wingers all the time. I have theocratic fascist in my bio, clearly a sarcastic joke. Again, Politico made this headline, the headline of the piece, fundamentally dishonest. Nobody on the right should be giving them any credibility. And that statement again got 4,000 likes. Which, yeah, the fact that people still take political, give them any consideration or even believe them at all is ridiculous. The conservative alternative says, quote, people should not be canceled for telling spicy jokes. Spicy jokes are the best kind of jokes. We need more of them, not less, getting 22 likes. Jay says, one group chat filled with Pakistanis is an exact representation of Republicans, getting 7 likes. We also have Amelia Henderson saying, quote, exactly, the leftist media machine thrives on outrage clips ripped out of context. They bait conservatives into self-destruction while pretending to be more referees of jokes they deliberately distort, getting 19 likes. Patriot Aaron says exactly. It's a blurb. It says can't speak today. Again, click that subscribe button. It may help with that speaking aptitudes. You never know. Well, actually, I do know. It's gotten better. It says that young Republicans, haha, gay. It says young Democrat, old Democrat, Democrat teacher, Democrat nurse, Democrat candidate. I'm glad we murdered Charlie Kirk. Getting 247 likes. Yep. You also have Thomas Anthony saying, quote, it's not, I was just say, does he sound like a hippie, or how would he sound like? Come on, man, it's not about the context. You say, it's not about the context, it's about the judgment. Making Hitler jokes in a group chat is a sign of bad judgment. Getting 114 likes, though. One of the most liked comments. The first one's response to him is Marie Antifa saying, haha. One of the leaders of the Young Republicans. Picture of him. Duck Enlightenment says, quote, letting journalists decide what is or isn't bad judgment is itself bad judgment. You absolutely have more on getting 47 likes. Ron K is a meme of a cock getting 26 likes. King Henry V says, hey now, shut the fuck up. Pardon the French. This is what the quote said. It's a picture of Trump it's a cartoon of Trump holding what do you call this, old-fashioned microphones? Not a microphone per se. Oh, what is that what is it called? Getting 55 likes. Wonka says, quote, some teenagers showed bad judgment. Call the news, getting 44 likes, which, again, they're called young Republicans, but I think it's 18 to 40. Most of them are not teenagers. Also have the capitalist blog saying, quote, it's not a Hitler joke. It's a leftist call everything they disagree with Hitler joke. If that is disqualifying, then even more so comparing everyone you don't like Hitler, getting 26 likes. Going back to the main comment section. Solomon says, quote, you don't joke with hate speech, getting 2 likes. Was he ratioed? Fish Eater says, hate speech is a stupid idea, one that needs to be killed with. Some dummies consider to be hate speech, needs to be killed with. What some dummies consider to be hate speech, joke anyway, getting 7 likes. Cato says, hate speech is just speech you hate. If you're American, you know this. You're not an American? Solomon Ardubiaski. Where's he from? Zimbabwe. Yeah, they don't have freedom of speech there. Most countries don't, unfortunately. Great Uncle Romulus says the entire story. It's a only hamburgers bun without the actual hamburger, getting 418 likes. Going down more and more. Old Bear says, quote, all the people who are denouncing the young Republicans are old GOP. They dream of a time where they can go back to being respectable Republicans, which means you can serve nothing, hold meaningless hearings, and remain a minority power forever. But the DC press likes you. There's a cat there's a cat like sitting there and just says pathetic, getting 68 likes. Socrates the Chad says, quote, is it too much to ask for conservatives to at least ask for the context before knee-jerking character assassinating their own? Getting 125 likes. Michael Andrew made a meme of Dexter the Laboratory. That was a long time ago. And a girl is holding Dexter's face and she says, say it again. And Dexter says Hitler, getting 72 likes. Fletcher Williams says we must stand together. He has a screenshot of Charlie Kirk's tweet. And it says, quote, the left has never played by our rules. Only we play by our rules. Our rules are what keeps our side from winning. We either want to win or we will lose under the same delusion that the rules mean anything. Getting 104 likes. Let's see. Also have PWA saying because deep down these rhinos still want to be accepted by the left, even though the left wants them dead. Yep, getting 69. Let's get 70 likes. Let's see. Hitler says, quote, Republicans exist to virtual signal for people who hate them, getting 674 likes. Let's see. No one ratioed him. And Zoo says, I've heard shit 100 times worse in the group chat in the Call of Duty lobby. If you're falling for this shit in 2025, get the F out of our way. You're useless in this fight, getting 23 likes. Christiane Pushaw says Politico is a dishonest rag. It's shameful for any Republican to collaborate with them, getting 260 likes. Yep. Let's see. William Trapani says, what exactly is the proper context for gas chambers and watermelon people? Do tell, getting 273 likes. Let's see. CG says unacceptable in 2025. We call them basketball people now, getting 48 likes. Exiled Friend says, well, those are South Park tier jokes, dude, getting 16 likes. He was not ratioed by number of likes, but number of comments. They are pretty much all ratioing him. Going down more and more. Senator Wigwam. It's a AI-generated picture of Elizabeth Warren. Says, what context would make this string cool? How about, let's see. Ready to watch people. Got 142 likes. Says, if they vote for this, why would they be gassed? That's one of the comments. Says, when are you start bullying, dude? Got, again, 142 likes. Great Uncle Romulus says, this guy is the picture of the guy who leaked the text, getting 7 likes. But yeah, I was going to say, I wonder, let's see here. One more. M. Johnson says, they're falling for it because the GOP is allergic to winning, and in many cases, their role is to function as opposition in name only. Getting 94 likes, which, yeah, I was going to say, I can't think there's mostly rhinos in office most of my life. But let me know your thoughts, because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Democrat Representative Katie Porter going off and very irate over a whoopsies, a staffer in the background. Now, this brought to us thanks to AKA, hashtag AKA FaceUS. And editor's note says, quote, the following video was obtained by Politico and shows prominent a government recording between then Democrat Katie Porter and then Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm.
You ready for stat number 2?
Ugh.
I am.
All right.
How about electric cars? They're great for people who don't do math
600.
or ROI.
I am.
All right. $632, which is how much you save in fuel and maintenance costs when you replace your traditional car with an EV, with an electric vehicle. So I lease a Chevy Bolt. It is the best car that I have ever owned.
Someone said Chevy is the best car they ever owned. That's funny. Also, they never realized or actually talk about what's the cost to replace those ginormous batteries? Like 10 to 30 grand for these vehicles. prohibitively expensive. So again, if you don't think about long-term cost, yeah, EV sounds great.
Plug it into the garage, 3-hole prong plug, and I never have to go to the gas station.
That's awesome. And $632 is real money.
It's nothing for a vehicle, again, if you have to replace those ginormous batteries. Now, in this case, she's actually leasing the vehicle, which, again, you could debate owning versus leasing a vehicle, perhaps another topic for another time. But, yeah, there are trade-offs to be sure. And I'm sorry, I should put a visual disclaimer on this part of the show. You're seeing Katie Porter, which is somehow debatably more visually, viscerally disgusting than myself.
And I know here at UCI, we have a National Fuel Center Research Center, and they're also doing work on how to make electric vehicles affordable, including for low and moderate income people, working moms, single moms like me, people who really could benefit from an extra $632 in their pocket. And it's also not just the individual savings, but it's also the total savings.
Which, again, a new car in the United States, average cost is like, 47? No, I thought it was $51,000. We just passed that price point. I mean, again, I'm a big fan of, having a very strict regimen when it comes to your savings, having a budget. But again, when you're looking at a vehicle and you're owning it for, well, the average American, I believe they own the vehicle for about 12 years now. Again, you got to think of the long-term cost of ownership. It's not just the fuel or electricity cost, because again, you have to pay for electricity, but also the maintenance, which again, EVs have less traditional maintenance. But again, there's a bigger issue of the batteries, which again, in this case, she's leasing the vehicle and GM is losing money. If you believe in leasing a vehicle, I could understand the upside to that situation. Again, personally, I wouldn't recommend it.
For our economy. So I'm on the oversight committee, you might know, and that is where we did a study recently this fall in September. And what it showed is if we don't electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other.
What? Again, more of the cliche, do what we say or people will die.
Problems, and the state could lose.
In the background, she has a staffer with a mask cleaning up her place, apparently.
Get out of my fucking shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before.
So she corrected her.
That. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicle saving money.
As intelligent as she is beautiful, which is to say, not at all. And doesn't have good temperament in terms of, well, yeah, you're angry. You're sitting at home with someone in the background. She's like in the kitchen. You're not in an office with a closed door, or an area of the house that would have more privacy. You're in the kitchen. And again, a smart person would respond to your staff, be like, "I appreciate the clarification, so you can make this interview as accurate as possible." But no, not so much. She's pretty irate. And yells at the staffer, which, again, doesn't look good. I'm surprised it didn't go more viral. It got about 5,000 views and 105 likes. One of the first ones comes to us thanks to, well, I don't know if it's not number one by likes, but the most handsomest, perhaps. Me, the Topping Show, I say, quote, "You can judge a man by not how he treats his peers, but how he treats those who report to him," getting 4 likes. Butnick says, quote, "Well, she seems like a fantastic lady," getting 2 likes, which, yeah, can't but think there's a reason she got divorced. Templer says, quote, "You can judge someone by how they treat those around them." You can see her biting her lip right before she yells at the staffer, getting 4 likes. Which, geez Louise. Ugh. Nick Rogue says, quote, "A person tells you a lot about themselves by how they treat their staff/service workers," getting 2 likes. Yep. It's cliche to say, but that is a reason why a lot of companies will do interviews where they take you out to lunch or dinner, and they see how do you interact with the staff? How do you treat your waiter or waitress? Megan Burke says, "Oh, she's a real treat," getting 1 like. The elephant in the room says, quote, "She seems very nice," getting 1 like as well. Golden Age Pureblood says, "Why does she always look like she's just getting the first whiff of a really nasty fart?" getting 2 likes. Kimberly Willie says, quote, "The mask for these people is always super thin," getting 2 likes. Will simply calls her a lunatic. Concerned Dad says she's very unstable and unfit to represent the American people, not to mention unfit for a dress, getting 2 likes. Yeah. And again, she's running, or walking more accurately, for political office. Well, it'll be interesting to see if she's actually successful. I can't but think once people do any amount of research, probably not, but Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you had the young Republicans themselves apologizing for their internal leaked chats, sounding, well, weak and pathetic. Now, again, this is from the board of directors of the Young Republicans National Federation. And they say, quote, "We are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed in the political article published today. Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and it stands in direct opposition to the values of our movement represents. Those involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local young Republican organizations. We must hold ourselves accountable to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism." Signed, the board of directors from the Young Republicans, giving people the exact opposite of what they want or expect. And yeah, it did go viral. Got 7.4 million views, but I mean, the like ratio is perhaps worse than my show, which is saying something. They only got 15,000 likes, which, yeah, you don't have to be a mathematician to realize that's not good. The first response, I think, is emblematic or representative of most Republicans, especially young ones. It's from the Hodge twins. They say, quote, "This response is exactly why we lose," getting 13,000 likes, nearly ratioing them right off the bat. Because, again, it was a private group chat with guys who, again, get pretty bombastic and have pretty dark humor jokes. Kind of a consistent theme around most guys. Locker room talk is a real thing. And again, this is the worst response they could have had. I mean, the right is supposed to be the side of no cancel culture. Well, except if you critique certain countries, then they'll cancel you, of course. But yeah, it's supposed to be about freedom of speech. What they should have said was, yeah, an internal group chat with some dark humor got leaked. What up? What of it? Again, you've seen decades now, well, maybe a decade and a half, people trying to apologize to the woke mob. I mean, celebrities have tried it, athletes have tried it, organizations have tried it. It's never once worked. They never got their prestige back, their job back, or their sponsorship back. They literally just bend over for no reason. Or the rhino way, perhaps. And again, a lot of these, people aren't really Republicans in the traditional sense. They're just pejoratively known as Republicans in name only. And I don't think it's possible. They chose the worst. This is the worst possible response. Saying nothing would have been that would have been far better, infinitely better, in fact, than coming out like this and saying, oh yeah, we're going to cancel our own people. These private messages that were jokes. And again, were some of the jokes disgusting? Yeah. Kind of how guys are. A lot of guys like dark humor. It's a thing. And they go, oh yeah, we're going to all quit. Doing the left's job for them, I suppose? Now, one of the most popular comments also comes to us thanks to Nick Fuentes. He simply says, F you, getting 32,000 likes, which I can't snap today, although I did attempt, ratioing them completely. We're going to scroll through and see, does anyone agree with the young Republicans? David Santa Clara says, quote, "I'd rather side with someone who has opinions that I disagree with than a rat. You guys are weak," getting 2.2 thousand likes. Wall Street Maverick simply says, quote, "Stop kneeling to the communist. No action is necessary in this matter," getting 5.1 thousand likes. Matt Walsh simply says, "The gayest thing I've ever read," getting 253 likes. Brandon Morello says, quote, "We don't have to do this anymore. Trump is president," getting 918 likes. Canadian Patriot, poor son of a bitch. Imagine being a patriot, an actual someone who believes in conservative values and freedom, being stuck in the totalitarian hellholes Canada with freedom right there. It's so close. Yeah, poor son of a bitch. He got 711 likes, saying weak. We do have a contrarian statement brewing to the surface from Trump Tracker. He says, quote, "How about enforcing this instead of writing them a strongly worded letter?" Getting 530 likes. Was he ratioed? No, Trump Tracker was not ratioed. Travel Moore did respond to Trump Tracker, saying, quote, "How about leftists stop killing people? Did young Democrats ever condemn the assassination of Charlie Kirk?" Nope, getting 5 likes. Nick Albernati says, quote, "Your profile picture is literally a political murder threat," getting 6 likes. Kyle Hurd says, "Ironic coming from you guys with 188647 as your profile picture, and you have 0 credibility," getting 9 likes. So Trump Tracker was not ratioed by a number of likes, but by the comments were all negative. Kangman Lee posts a screenshot from Charlie Kirk, or a quote from Charlie Kirk. They quote, "The left has never played by our rules. Only we play by our own rules. Our rules are what keeps our side from winning. We either want to win or we will lose under the same delusion that these rules mean anything. Gave 16,000 likes. Mostly peaceful memes has a picture of Trump in a Tesla with Elon Musk, and Trump is yelling, and they inserted the word faggot, getting 8.6 thousand likes. With perfect, someone's profile is named literally with perfect hatred. It's a quote from Dostoevsky, one of the most famous prolific Russian writers in history. And he says, quote, your worst sin is that you have destroyed and betrayed yourself for nothing, getting 2.4 thousand likes. See, Sandbatch says, quote, I'm appalled by the fact, he says, I'm appalled by the fat women and sweaty eunuchs on your board. What the hell? Getting 2,000 likes. Just a picture of the board members, which they don't look great. Granted, I don't have much ground. I don't have much of a ground to stand on when it comes to visual appeal. You have Lucky Tenter saying, quote, Democrats running for Attorney General and other high-level positions are calling for their opponents' children to be executed, and the Democrats stand by them. You want to expel young Republicans for edgy humor? Go F yourselves. Getting 10,000 likes. Charles Haywood says, who gives a shit? Man up. Pussies. Getting 11,000 likes, which, yeah. I mean, back in my day, you could actually have fun on the Call of Duty game. You actually have crass humor, dark humor, talk shit. Nowadays, thanks to big tech, Microsoft uses AI. So actually will boot you off and kick you off the platform if you say anything too controversial, which is pathetic and weak. You also have Louis Schenker, and it's Trump, and when he was working at McDonald's, says, have a nice day, faggot, getting 3.7 thousand likes. Sarah Stock simply says, what a bunch of losers, getting 8.3 thousand likes. Devin Erickson has a picture of, I forget her name, but it was the gal at the public park with her child, where another child was stealing from her, and she called the child an N-word, getting 1.6 thousand likes. Into the memory hole says, your opponents are calling for the total demise of your people and offspring. It's a frog at a guillotine, and the executioner says, any last words? And the frog goes, so much for the tolerant left, and he dies, getting 6,000 likes. McGills has a picture of Shane Gillis, famous stand-up comedian, with a quote that simply says, you sound like a potential homosexual, getting 1,000 likes. So there's, I'm scrolling down more and more. Trying to see if there's any contrarian statements. Murders. It looks like Sons of Korah rewrote it, and he says, quote, we are appalled by the abject and inexcusable cowardice exhibited by young Republican National Federation today. Such conduct is not only disgraceful and unworthy of a true patriot, but also dishonors the many virtues exhibited by our forefathers of this land, the land of the free and home of the braves. The pathetic worms who capitulated to the leftist mob must resign immediately from all positions within their state and local Republican organizations. We must hold on to the underlying values of loyalty, valor, and fortitude against the frivolous attacks of racial murderous leftists bent on destroying our great nation. Signed, American Men. He got 596 likes. Let's see. A lot more people having the same quote from Charlie Kirk, posting that again and again and again. Distant Soaps says, so you're transitioning into a gay rights organization? You hate to see it. Getting 11,000 likes. The Caillou's Top Gal simply says, that's why Democrats always win, getting 9.8 thousand likes. Logan Hall says, you people are worse than the left, getting 2.1 thousand likes. Yeah. Fraser Payne simply says, utterly pathetic, you've learned nothing, getting 9.7 thousand likes. Philabonte, hey, exceptional talent, musically speaking, and on Timcast IRL consistently saying, quote, you're all bitch made, getting 538 likes. Yeah. And let's see. Kofifi simply says, F you for being an organization for the youth and immediately betraying them, getting 5.6 thousand likes. Yeah. Rhinos and loyalty aren't exactly kind of like oil and water. You usually, they don't really mix. They're not really the same. So it'll be interesting to see if a new organization supplants them because, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people who donate to this organization will no longer do so, but let me your thoughts because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, Mom Genius recalling their gate because, whoops, they're not so genius because they're hazardous. Now, this brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, though, pretty low bar. And they say, quote, Genius recalls retractable safety gates due to risk of injury or death from entrapment. It also violates the mandatory safety standard for gates and enclosures. Here you can see what looks to be the discount gate. It almost looks like one of those silly things from the 1990s and 2000 era, where you had some suction cups you place on your window, you pull it down, and get the car shade. Was I the only brokey who had those? Low-end cars did not have that from the factory. You had to make do. But nevertheless, they say, quote, this is a recall from Mom Genius retractable safety gates. The recall gates violate the mandatory standard for expansion gates and expandable closers because a child's torso could fit in the opening between the gate and the floor. Could they? I mean, America is the most obese country on the planet. I don't think so. But nevertheless, it violates the federal law affecting about 920 units. And they say, quote, consumers should immediately stop using the recalled safety gates and contact Mom Genius for a full refund, which again, funny name. Consumers must destroy the gate by cutting through the mesh and take a photo of the destroyed gate. Submit a photo to product-recall@momgenius.com. Once the photo is received, Mom Genius will issue a full refund. They're sold at Amazon.com, Walmart.com, and PurchasingPower.com, and PerPay.com from March 2024 and June 2025 between $50 and $75. Jeez Louise, they're paying that much for this? Like $20, you go to Home Depot, get a couple 2x4s and nail them together, and there's an actual structural wall to keep the kids in place. And if you feel so inclined, you could go above beyond, maybe sand it, stain it a little bit, make a really nice, effective wall. I can't believe people pay $50 to $75 for these things. And they're manufactured, of course, in China. Now they say to check your gate. The model number is SH20006BO2. Now, thankfully, again, I don't think there's a high risk of anything actually happening, but nevertheless, thankfully, is an instance where they got ahead of the recall. No one's been hurt or injured or perished because of this product deficiency. But I gotta say, Mom Genius, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. Greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comments. Great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.